The Law of Redemption, Wasim's story. My name is Wasim. I was raised in an army school in Pakistan, where discipline was everything. We woke before dawn, marched before breakfast, and learned that life doesn't forgive weakness. I grew up believing that strength meant silence, and that pride meant survival. I carried that belief with me when I came to America. It all started when my mother's friend came from the United States to visit our family. She brought her daughter, Asiya. She was quiet, graceful, and her kindness was effortless. It didn't take long for me to fall in love with her. 4 years later, we got married, and I left everything behind: my home, my parents, my world, to start a new life in America. In the beginning, it felt like a dream. We had a small apartment, I worked long hours, and she was the center of my world. But slowly, something changed. Her mother, Sophia, began to call every day, telling her how to cook, what to wear, what to tell me. I thought it was harmless advice at first. But then one day, I came home and found Sophia sitting in my living room. She had a key. She smiled and said, "We're family, Wasim. I should have access." That day, I realized I wasn't just married to a woman, I was married into control. Everything I said or did was criticized. If I spoke up, I was disrespectful. If I stayed silent, I was cold. And over time, every decision I made was second-guessed, twisted, and thrown back in my face. Still, I stayed. Because by then, we had 2 sons. And every time I thought of leaving, Asiya would say, "If you walk away, you'll never see your kids again." My mother knows the law here. Those words were enough to keep me silent. They became the cage I built for myself. Years passed, and my spirit started breaking piece by piece. I worked harder, hoping to keep the peace. But the peace never came. Only exhaustion did. I'd wake up feeling defeated before the day even began. And yet, I kept going, for my sons, for their future, for the idea that one day things might get better. Then one evening, everything changed. It wasn't a big fight. It wasn't dramatic. I simply said that I missed Pakistan. Asiya laughed and said, "Then go back. My mother will raise the boys better anyway." Sophia looked at me and said, "You're nothing here, Wasim. Men like you don't win in this country." And in that moment, something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. I realized that if I stayed any longer, I would lose everything that made me who I was. That night, I packed a small bag. I kissed my sons while they slept. And I walked out the door. For the first time in years, I felt the cold night air on my face. And it felt like freedom. But freedom came with a price. I moved into a small rented room and tried to rebuild my life. But then came the letters. Legal threats. Custody claims. Accusations of abuse and neglect. Things I never imagined would be said about me. I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer. Every consultation cost more than what I earned in a week. I was drowning in fear and confusion. I didn't know where to turn. Then one day, the stress caught up to me. I collapsed at work. The doctor said it was exhaustion and anxiety. But to me, it felt like defeat. That night, as I sat in that hospital bed staring at the ceiling, I realized that strength alone wasn't going to save me this time. A friend visited me the next day and said, "Wasim, you need help. Try AI.Law, it's not a lawyer, but it'll help you understand your rights." I didn't believe it, but I tried it anyway. I wrote down everything: the abuse, the manipulation, the threats. And for the first time in years, I got answers. AI.Law explained what emotional abuse meant in legal terms. It told me how custody really worked, what evidence I needed, what my rights were. It gave me clarity where confusion had lived for years. I spent the next 2 months following its guidance step by step. I collected documents, text messages, hospital reports. I started understanding how the law worked, not how my abusers wanted me to believe it worked. With that knowledge, I finally found a real attorney and went to court, not as a broken man, but as a man who finally understood the system. The process was long and brutal. But truth has a way of cutting through lies. The judge saw the manipulation, the psychological abuse, and the control. And when the verdict came, I finally felt vindicated. I was granted joint custody of my sons. And Sophia, the same woman who told me I would lose everything, was ordered to pay damages for emotional distress and mental abuse. That day, I didn't cheer. I didn't cry. I just closed my eyes and took the first deep breath of peace I'd felt in 10 years. After that, everything started to change. Without the constant stress, my mind became clear again. I went back to focusing on my business, a small real estate company that had once been my pride. In 2 years, I built it from almost nothing to being worth over $6 million. But this time, it wasn't just money that mattered. It was peace. It was dignity. It was being able to look my sons in the eyes and tell them, "Your father didn't give up." Now, I live with my boys half the week. We cook together. We laugh together. We talk about life and courage. They know what their father went through, and they know he never stopped fighting for them. Sometimes people ask me if I still hate Asiya or her mother. The truth is, I don't. Hate is heavy, and I've carried enough weight in my life. I let it go. Now, when people come to me with stories like mine, I tell them this strength isn't just about standing tall. It's about standing back up when life knocks you down. And knowledge. Knowledge is the sharpest weapon a man can have. AI.Law didn't just give me legal answers. It gave me my confidence back. It gave me a way to fight for what's right, not just for myself, but for every man who's ever been told he has no voice. Today, when I look in the mirror, I don't see a victim. I see a man who rebuilt his life from the ground up. I see a father who refused to disappear. And I see someone who finally understands that justice doesn't just live in courtrooms. Sometimes, it starts with a simple click, a bit of knowledge, and the courage to use it. My name is Wasim. And this is my redemption. Because no matter how dark the night gets, the truth always finds a way to rise. Like, share, subscribe.